Welcome to the I Am the Worst Parent Ever podcast with Nicole Merritt and Dr. Robert Zeitlin.
Hey, Nicole.
Hi, Robert. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little frazzled, but I'm good. How are you?
I was going to say that sounded like a loaded good.
That was a weighted good. It felt a little weighted, felt a little weighed down.
Do you feel weighed down a lot lately? Because I sure do.
I do feel weighed down a lot lately. I feel like I'm in between a couple big things, and they're just weighing me down. I feel like I don't feel like I'm juggling them well. I know I'm doing the best I can, but it just feels overwhelming sometimes.
I can totally relate to that. And it's funny because I think sometimes we feel like we look disheveled and frazzled, but to outsiders, I'm always thinking, how is Robert doing everything that he's doing? This is amazing, so everybody else looks at you so differently than you look and feel yourself.
Yeah, when you say those things to me privately, when you say you're doing great and this looks great, I'm like, she's it's not that you're being generous or charitable. It's like you're propping me up. Like you can see that I'm struggling. It's like, I got to remind him that he could be doing, it's not really witnessing what I'm doing. It's actually propping me up and saying, you can do it, keep going. It's like the marathon runner that's sort of shuffling along. It's like, you're almost there, keep going. And that's not really what you're saying, is it?
Well, I think I'll tell you, I've said this to you before. I feel like I screw up a lot. I feel like I mess up a lot, whether it comes to work and my blog or, marriage. Was I nice this morning? And most importantly, and most especially in parenting. But when you get that, whether it's from your kid or another mom that's like, oh, hey, you did great this morning at this, you're just, you eat that up and you soak it up and you use it as you need that acknowledgement that somebody somewhere thinks that you're doing something right.
No, it definitely helps. Whenever you say that stuff to me or the other people in my life who see what I'm doing and are like, you're doing great. I don't know how you're doing all this stuff. I may not believe it, but it certainly does make me feel better. It certainly does make me feel like, well, there might be someone who sees this differently than I feel, right? And in my best moments, I feel that. I feel like I'm proud of everything that I'm doing. I definitely am proud. It's just, minute by minute, it doesn't feel like progress. It feels like, I don't know. It just feels, you're overwhelmed with the day to day,
Right. Now, do you call that, so I think you and I are very similar in that, I don't know, we carry the weight of the world. We carry the weight of everything, whether it's something our child is going through, something our husband is going through, or your wife, something that's going on with our work. It eats up my brain. It literally makes my stomach hurt. Is that anxiety? Do you think you're an anxious person?
No, I don't think I'm anxious. I don't know. Maybe.
Why do we have this tendency to go to okay, something didn't work out and it's the whole day is blown. Why can't we just keep that isolated incident as an isolated incident?
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't think of it as anxious, although I guess I did think of myself as anxious as a kid sometimes, but I do worry. That worry sort of sticks to me. So I guess it is anxiety. I guess I don't call it that, but yeah, I think it's, I think we're both similar in that we carry the weight of the world, but also we're both similar in that we keep paddling, no matter how hard it's raining, we're out there and we keep paddling. And I, for one, I don't give myself enough credit for that. The fact that I am a paddler, that I finished the race, I set my goals and I keep going. It feels like I'm hitting this headwind, and it's like if you're running or you're biking or driving against a wind, it feels like it's almost standing you still because of the headwind. When actually you're moving forward, it just the moment by moment feels like
Right.
you're not making a lot of progress.
Right. And I mean, sometimes I guess your like initial instinct is to fight against it. But I find, and I always have, even when I was younger, like I thrive on pressure. I almost I hate the way I feel, but it almost motivates me to work harder or get through the things that I need to get through. But at the same time, there's this huge part of me that wishes I could be more like my husband, who doesn't let stuff get to him. Like people that I don't know how you hone that ability. I don't know if it's through maybe through meditation, affirmations. I don't know. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think there are different like personality types of how much things get to us.
Right.
For me, the work that I've done on myself, or the daily work that I do with meditation, etc., does definitely help. You know, that I thought you were going to say, when I said headwind, I thought you were going to say, you know, you're saying it fuels you up, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say you learn to sort of stop fighting it and like leaning against it, but like turning sideways and kind of letting it go past you and being more efficient in moving forward.
Right.
And I feel like that's maybe, I don't know if that describes your husband, but that describes, I've figured out how to work smarter with it.
Right.
And stop fighting it so much. Like that headwind, the resistance, the lizard brain we've talked about can all be a big distraction.
Right.
And it can take my focus away from what I'm doing. It can say, hey, look over here. Let's fight your procrastination. Let's spend a lot of mental energy about like what you're eating and that you're not exercising or taking care of yourself. You know, here's a little shame pothole over here, or here's a little, you know, way to like feel bad about yourself and then get in a downward spiral. But I think that's all in the effort of distracting me from what I should be doing, what I ought to be doing, what I want to be doing.
See, I feel like yours is a way to work smarter through it by letting that headwind pass you. Even though I find it motivating and I kind of like use it and thrive under that pressure and anxiety, like you said, the mental energy that's devoted to it, all the stuff that happens internally to me in my brain, in my physical like symptoms, prior to doing well and pushing through and succeeding is anguish, and it's taking that mental energy. And, you know, it'll put me in, you know, a certain headspace, and I'm responding to people in my family in a certain way, all based off of this, you know, unnecessary anguish. So that part of it, I wish I don't know, I guess I wish I wasn't so affected by it, because then I think it bleeds out into my interactions with those that I love, and not always in the best way. So.
Yeah, I think there is a distinction that I can bring up for you. Maybe it's helpful to you in this way. I don't know. It's something that I've learned over the years, especially in terms of anxiety and in terms of anguish, just general stuff that we're dealing with. There's the reality of the headwind, or there's the reality of the dog pooping in the pool, like you talked about before, or your kids, or your life, and or just natural anxiety that comes up. And then secondarily, there's what we do with it. You know, there's the pain, and then there's the suffering, if that makes sense. And you don't have control over the first wave, the pain, but you do have control over what you do about the suffering, right? A silly little metaphor, I got a bug bite on my foot that totally itches. And if I keep scratching it, I keep focusing on it, it gets worse. You mentioned, you know, just previously about like what I say every now and then, that what you focus on becomes your reality.
Right.
But literally, if you can control the part you can control, which is the suffering, then you don't have to double down on the pain or the anguish or the worry.
Right. And I've been kind of trying to almost, I guess in a way, transform my focus and my thinking about things so that I don't go to that extreme internally. And even something so small as my my son doesn't enjoy haircuts. He doesn't have, like a full-blown sensory issue. You know, I've looked into it, I've read the books. It's not like that, but he definitely has like a sensitivity to it. Like it irks the crap out of him. And so every haircut is this huge battle. It's like an exorcism. Like it's bad. And yesterday we had success. We came up with a plan about how we were going to do it, where he wanted to do it. There was 0 tears. We got it done.
Wow.
And again, I don't know if it was just me and him both approaching it with like this new, just kind of like, you know how you say like, you know, people will become what you tell them they're going to be. You tell some, you know, he's a bad kid, then he's going to be bad or whatever. Like we have to watch and I think that we just approached the situation and the cut itself in a different light, and everything about it was different.
Everything changes. You're reminding me of a story that another mom told me that I think ended up in the book, or about something I wrote about the book. But it's so amazing the way things change when you change your stance like that.
Right. And it's so hard because like I can recall like the past haircuts and and I think we might have talked about it in an episode where like Mommy Monster came out and I was like, you're gonna get this done, you know?
No, we have not talked about that. Let's talk about Mommy Monster.
Oh my gosh. No, one of the last times we had like started it and then he didn't want to finish it. Like he freaked out and I'm like, you can't leave with half, you know, this side done and not this side done. And and then the baby was crying. Like it was like, this is just a haircut. This doesn't have to be this hard, you know? But in his mind, it was a big deal. And me finally like switching my focus from this is not my kid trying to be a pain and cause me turmoil. He's actually experiencing it. Like, let's do this together. And we both, like, we were high-fiving the rest of the day. Like, teamwork makes the dream work, dude. We did this, you know?
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's like... That's a chapter on empathy, you know? It's so hard. It was so hard as Mommy Monster to get out of we're going to push through, we're going to do this, it's going to happen. I don't care whatever it takes for you to walk out of this place with the other half of your head cut, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. You looked at him like a kid on the production line. You're going to get from here to there, right?
Yes.
And everything changed when you stopped standing over him and stood next to him.
Right. But doesn't it seem like sometimes we're standing over ourselves? Like like with the production line, I gotta get this crap done and it has to happen in this order. And if it didn't happen by this time, then I failed, you know?
Wow.
Stand next to ourselves.
Wow. So the word for what you did with your son is not actually empathy. It's more compassion. And you and I talked about this when we were interviewed by Scott Perry. We talked about the difference between empathy and compassion. Empathy is like a mental game, but compassion is actually doing it, actually getting in his head, you know, like what is he going through and acknowledging that he was suffering. So now you're turning the whole thing on ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And now we're talking about what I think is like the holy grail of like moving forward with your life, which is self-compassion. Like you actually can't get anywhere until you can really be compassionate with yourself. So here's the core of what you did with your son, which is amazing. You know, if we accept that whatever the person is feeling and whatever the person is scared of and whatever the person wants, their whole worldview, if we accept that as a truth and we acknowledge that that's real, then we can say with security that I would probably be doing the same thing he's doing right now, freaking out or whatever,
right,
if I had all those experiences. Like right, even in your worst situation, even in our listeners' worst situation at work, where someone is completely a jerk or a toxic culture, like if you'd been through and you'd been kicked around or whatever by whatever that person's been doing, then you probably would be acting like they act. You'd probably be feeling the way they feel, and you changed things around and you saw it from, you know, behind your son's eyes and saw his perspective. And doing that changed everything and allowed you to partner with him so you guys could have that like high five moment. That's incredible. But now you're turning it around to ourselves, and like now my mind's a little blown, because I think if we could do that for ourselves, if we could acknowledge everything that it took for you and me to be sitting here today, working through everything we've gotten to, so we could sit down and have this conversation, and we could really understand and empathize with ourselves and show that self-compassion, imagine what we could do.
Right. And I guess that the partnering with yourself becomes so hard because you spend so much energy to partner with your children. And if you have more than one, and then you're partnering in this emotion and in that emotion and that emotion, and then your spouse needs you to partner with them to help them out. And then,
every now and then an in-law or a pet.
Right. And your company, your clients. You have to give so much energy to so many other people and things and ideas, and it's just there's almost none left to give yourself. So it's not crazy that that we both feel like we're giving ourselves less than we're putting out.
So we have a saying in our family when guests are over that you don't go first getting food. It's called family holdback, right? So everyone should eat. If there isn't a ton of food left, that should be the family's problem, not your guest's problem, right?
Right.
So why are we last in the compassion food line?
I mean, that's a good question, but I don't know that I could suggest putting myself first, and I don't know that it's almost.
So let me challenge you there. Like, what's the story you tell yourself that says you have to wait until you find out if there's any food, any compassion left for yourself, any energy left for yourself? What's the story behind that?
For me, it's that my children are my world, and if they are going to get all the food, then that's fine. Like and I think people have different things. It might not be your children. It might be your job is going to get, is going to get to go first all the time, whatever it is for you. But I think that somewhere inside of you, deep down, there's and maybe that's how you figure out what is the most important. And yes, you need to be up there, but I don't think for me that will ever change. I think I can get better about, self-care and taking care of myself and time for myself, but I don't think I will ever put myself number one.
So part of your story I'm hearing is like, this is the way it is. It's not going to change. When I answer my own question, my story is like, I can handle it. I can survive on, I can survive on scraps, it's so funny because I don't give myself enough credit in so many ways, but here I give myself too much credit, right? I don't need the affirmation. I minimize, like when you say you're doing great, I'm like, oh, she's just being nice, or, I treat myself like I can survive at very little, with very little energy, self-compassion, taking care of myself. So that's a story I tell myself.
Right. But at the same time, you've taken the time to figure out certain things that work for you, meditation and things that bring you balance and just peace. And
right.
To this day, and you and I have had many conversations about it. The idea, like, I feel like, yes, it would be nice to do something for myself, to add yoga, a walk, this and that. It overwhelms me to think about adding something else to my plate. I feel like my hours are already so thin, and I know everybody's like, what do you mean you can't give up 5 minutes? What do you mean you can't give up 10 minutes? And you guys are all probably right. But those 5-10 minutes seem so precious to me. So it's tough.
Yeah, I realized as I was saying that you're probably sitting there going like, okay, this is one of the people in my life who I know takes good care of himself, right? I'm sitting here telling you that I don't like give myself, I don't take care of myself, basically. I don't give myself enough energy or compassion but you're like, dude meditates, dude, takes care of himself.
I think there's a difference. I think I'm not just because you take care of yourself does not mean you're giving yourself compassion. And you might not be giving it, you might give it in one area of your life, but you're definitely not giving it to where a ton of where your energy is going, which is to your work, which is so impressive.
Thank you. Thank you. I think it's hard. And I think the stuff that I do, even if it's not giving myself compassion, is all stuff that I've had to build in, like really intentionally, like structure things. Like a lot of when I take care of myself is in the morning, and I built in a morning routine, and I built in like how to get to sleep on time so I can, which I don't always do, but like, how do I do that? So I have this structured thing. It's not like I wake up and go, oh, I'll, take care of myself. It's like, nope, got to go do this, got to go do that. It's like sort of not taking your medicine, because it feels a lot better than that, but it's been structured and intentional that I've had to like start to build that. And if I can get back to what you just said about 5 or 10 minutes, I think it starts there. I think it starts with just starting a small sort of habit and being able to build on that. And it's really hard because it's not our reflex. It's not my reflex. I had to do it really purposely and intentionally.
Right. And I feel like, at least in my situation, I'm already doing so much purposely and intentionally. And then, with 3 under the age of 7, like, everything has like a schedule and a routine. Like I shower at night, my husband showers in the morning. I wake up at this time, I do the breakfast, he does the this, he does the that. So like to switch it up, it's like throwing like a thing, it's going to break the machine. Like the machine is working well enough. And just to get back to the compassion piece, I guess that what I find sometimes is like, I feel like I'm lacking compassion and focus. But when I almost like when I give it to somebody else, it almost fills my own, it fills your own bucket. You know what I mean? So like, yes, I might not be giving myself the compassion and the self-care and the attention that I need, but like when I choose to go to the park with my son, instead of, staying here and putting him in front of the TV so that I can type that blog post, I almost come back feeling more like energized about writing it later on or whatever, even though I took that time that I wanted for me. So it's a give and take, I think.
No, it does make sense. And I think it is a give and take, but I think we all, or at least you and I, could be a little better at the taking. And this has been a really helpful reminder of that and conversation. And it's helpful for me to see what I'm doing through your eyes and to get that feedback. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, this has been great. I mean, I think with you and I, it's kind of the message we send to ourselves, the message we give to our children and to anybody that's listening is just, no matter how frazzled, overwhelmed, disheveled, out of sync you feel, showing up is all that matters. Show up, look a mess, wear the messy mom bun, be a disheveled dad, but just show up in all aspects of your life. And I don't think there's anything that's more of a show of effort.
I totally agree. And there's a mental game that I play where I need to show up prepared. I need to be put together. But I don't give myself enough credit for just showing up is actually what is adequate. It's good enough. So I think that's a great reminder. Thanks.
This was a great talk, Robert.
Good to talk to you. Talk to you soon.
Sounds great.
Thank you for listening to the I Am the Worst Parent Ever podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss an episode.